All right, guys, I'm on fire today about this one, and the video is going to be about why I hate stocks. I literally just cannot stand stocks. And there's so many reasons why. Right away, I'm going to get into kind of the overarching reason that I made this video. I just kind of had a heated conversation about stocks and tariffs and how these tariffs are knocking stocks down. That's current events. That's what's happening today. The second piece of it is going to be just why I don't like them in general. First of all, I'm on Twitter right now, and the amount of people crying and bitching and complaining about their stock went down and these tariffs are such a bad idea because their stock went down 5% or whatever it went down today. First of all, that really bothers me because stocks lead to this short-term thinking right here. If you actually look at what's happening, the tariffs, and I don't even want to be a macro person who puts out content or anything. I kind of like to talk about just what I'm doing. I don't know enough. I'm not confident enough to feel like I can just spew off about any topic. But when you look at the tariffs, they're literally reciprocal tariffs. Just if you're charging me $1, I'm charging you $1. And when you look further, we're actually giving discounted rates to all these countries. I just saw a chart. Our rates are much more discounted, which makes sense because they're doing more import. That's more of their business. So like not everything has to be one-to-one on tariffs, in my opinion. And I see all these people, finance people, oh, my stock is down. I can't believe he did this to me. Not realizing the bigger picture, what's actually better for the country and for these companies as a whole. And because their stock took a minor dip, they're willing to go to hell in a handbasket and throw everything away on day one of a tariff war. It bothers me to no end that people even think that way. And to me, it comes off as, in a way, selfish because of my overarching view on stocks. Stocks is when you click a button and you buy a stock on your computer. And you're just hoping I guess you're buying shares of a company and that company has earnings reports and profits and blah, blah, blah. But you're basically buying something and just hoping that the chart goes up. And this is my same problem with a lot of crypto people. They press buy on their computer in their air conditioning house, and all of a sudden, they want to bitch and complain about things. And especially something as important as tariffs, where we're basically been getting ripped off, and people are charging us tariffs and getting rich off of our back. One stat I'll bring up I saw on the PBD podcast that really kind of floored me was the relationship with China. No one did trade with China because they have slave labor over there 30 years ago. When they got into the mix, it was like it's not World Economic Forum. They joined like the World Trade Agreement, whatever. Basically, the world can now trade with them. They're in the in club. Their GDP was like 3% of ours at that point. And in 30 years now, we're neck and neck even. And you can do that similar math with all these tiny countries that we do trade with. Basically, getting rich off of America's back. And I don't even want to go into it further than that because I don't know enough. But how this relates to stocks is now you have people who own shares in company, and because their stock went down, they're on the internet crying about something that is better for the country in the long term. And it's literally day one. Imagine how much they're going to be crying if this continues for, God forbid, a week or a month. And that's also, that ties in to crypto too. Now, to get to a more fundamental reason that I don't like stocks is what people like about them is their liquidity. That's what I hate about them. They're way too liquid. Because the same way that some goober pressed buy on his computer to buy it, they can also sell it. So you see these massive fluctuations, and it's just purely on emotion. Something happened today, I'm gonna sell, I'm freaked out. So they have access to the liquidity. And I personally don't see that as a plus, because I don't think it's a good framework to wealth. And I think it's a problem that most people are facing in today's society, where information is coming so fast. They actually think like speed is the way ahead. I have to be making moves, I have to be trading, I have to be doing this. When in reality, you're not skilled enough to do that, and nobody is. There are no successful day traders, that other than the ones who sell courses and make money doing it that way. But there's no successful guy who sits on the computer and goes in and out like you would watch on Billions. That just doesn't happen. And if there is a few, they probably have some competitive edge. There's no just regular Joe doing this. Maybe in a 15-year bull market, someone could be ahead, but it just doesn't work. And this is where real estate ties back in, of real estate beating stocks. Simply on the framework of, when you buy a house, when you buy an investment, when you buy a long-term investment, there's a lot of steps that go into it. You have to go through title, you have to get a purchase agreement, tenant. There's a lot of moving parts. And when you're flushed with emotions, like on a day like today, where Liberation Day, whatever they're calling it, the tariff day, and I could be wrong, maybe it's all bad, whatever. That's not the point. The point is, when stocks are this liquid, public sentiment can shake things up too fast, and it's too much weight on your shoulders as an everyday decision maker to stare at these charts like these people do. When you buy real estate, even if you were flushed with emotion, and I've thought this many times over the past 6 years, oh God, it's all going down, this happened, whatever, it's not good, it's not good. It's stable, it's flatline. It takes too many steps to sell. It would take 2 months to sell a property anyways. By that time, things are gonna change again. You want that foundation of things that are actually illiquid. Or maybe illiquid is not the word, harder to move. Harder to move, harder to have emotion take over and affect your decision making on a day-to-day basis. The other piece of it is that stocks do not provide cash flow. They don't. If you buy Coca-Cola, if you buy AT&T, sure, they'll give you 2% dividend, and you need millions and millions and millions of dollars in principal capital investment for it to really make a difference. So they don't generate cash flow. They also don't have leverage. You can't get stable fixed debt against your stocks. That's a huge problem with it. So if I'm buying a cash flowing property, it only needs to go up a small percentage, because I'm using leverage, for me to make a good chunk of money. Whereas a stock, it has to go up massive percentages, right? 20,000 into a stock gets you 20,000 of stock, but 20,000 into a property gets you 100,000 of property. Access to leverage. And of course, that is a double-edged sword too. There's a lot of people in multifamily who over-leveraged, and they're getting absolutely crushed right now. I get it. You can get crushed with leverage, and some people could say that's a bad thing. But when you're buying something that, especially in my market of, you're doing lower class and the focus is on cash flow, that leverage is extremely helpful, because you're not really taking huge risks with the leverage. The last one, the reason I just can't stand stocks. You're the foot soldier. You're the exit liquidity. You are the bottom rung. When you buy a stock, and you just buy a stock, if that business has a problem, if that business has a new release, if that business is doing some under the table deal, when do you find out? When it's already too late. You're not in the fray. You're not really in the mix. You're not on the ground level. And So when I see stocks go up and down, I think of it from a business owner perspective. I've started businesses, be it tiny with 1 or 2 employees, and they're not anywhere near a stock that's on the stock exchange. But let's say I did grow a business to that point. The people who start these businesses, once they go public and they go to everyday people as a chance to buy it, you're literally their exit liquidity. They are getting rich off of building up a company that has perceived value, or even if it has earnings, whatever. You take an Uber, a Snapchat that never wasn't profitable, and then they get rich. They become billionaires off of the public. And I know there's a lot of people who will have pushback and say, you know, you're now an owner of that company, blah, blah, blah. But my view of it is always going to be from the entrepreneur's mindset. And you're the last to know. Even off the top of my head, Tesla released like robo-cars a few months back. And I remember just thinking in my head, how long have they been working on that? How long have they known that? Years? All these plans? And me, if I were to just buy the stock, I wouldn't have even known that was happening. And that's good news. How many times do stocks take a turn, like today, whether it's tariffs or whether, you know, you have, say like a Ponzi scheme as a great example, like Enron. You're the last to know. You're always going to be the bag holder. So your upside is pretty limited and your downside is outsized compared to the people in the know. Anyways, this video was kind of a rant, but it's just my perspective on stocks. A day like today where everything's dropping is just why I don't like them. I don't like the people who sit around and even think that they did something because they bought a stock. It's just kind of an underlying thing that I have where when you're actually like an operator, to see people who just simply pressed buy on their computer and have these outlandish opinions, especially ones that hurt the public, in favor to keep their little stock propped up for their own, I guess, wealth, whatever you want to call it. That's my take on stocks. It's kind of off the cusp while I'm a little bit hot about the topic. But I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Maybe you guys have an argument. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe stocks are the best thing in the world and real estate isn't it. But that's my perspective on stocks. I like real estate where you can have control over it. You can force appreciation by fixing it up. You can get better tenants. You can improve your management. You can get better financing. You can fix the debt so that it isn't fluctuating the way stocks do. And that's about it. I'll see you guys in the next video.